Welcome everybody to today's webinar. My name's Katie. I'm from the customer success team here at Cladara and really excited to be with you today. We're talking about cash flow. So cash flow is the heartbeat of your business, as everybody here knows. It keeps everything running smoothly day to day. It's salaries getting paid on time. It's keeping the lights on in the building. And today we're going to be discussing best practices for better cash management, the importance of having real-time data, how to get a handle on scenario planning, and much more. And we're doing that with our very special guest, Colin Hewitt. Hi, Colin. Welcome to today.
Hey,
Colin is,
Kitty.
hey, thank you so much. Yeah, sorry about that, jumping in. Colin is the CEO and co-founder of Float, and Float is an operational cash flow forecasting tool. So not only is Colin here today to share his experience as a co-founder, but has even built a tool around it. So yeah, welcome, Colin.
Hey, great to be here.
We're really excited to get this conversation going. And I also have with me today Juli, one of our amazing customer success managers. Hi, Juli, how are you today?
Hey, I'm great. Really looking forward to this topic.
Yeah, me too. So I will hand it over to you guys in just a moment. So to give a little bit of housekeeping for everyone on the call today, um, I will hand it over to Colin and Juli for a fireside chat about cash flow, tips and advice. And that will be the majority of our webinar today. So for our regulars, you'll know, like to keep them short and sweet, but pack a lot in. So after the chat, I'm going to give you a very quick demo of Cladara's latest feature, which is about budgeting your spend. So this will help you forecast your software spend. Really excited to show everyone that. And then finally, we want to wrap up with a Q&A. So if you have any questions or even comments you'd like to share, please use the Q&A section in Zoom and we'll make sure we get to them at the end. And the very final piece of housekeeping, we are recording the session and it will be shared out. So that's it from me. I will hand it over to Juli and Colin.
Thank you, Katie. Well, Colin, let's get started. Um, First question, let's start with the big picture and set the scene. Why is managing cash flow so important?
Great question. I think, for me, having run, this is my second business, there really is only one metric that I want to know at all times, and that is what's our future cash flow going to look like? I don't really, the historical cash flow is one thing, but it's really about being able to look at your bank balance and almost project it out into the future. And so many businesses don't have this. Like it's really, they have a rough idea. They have a very, drivers based approach to something that's based on lots of assumptions. And if you have an idea of your cash flow, it just puts you in so much more control of your business. It's like, you know exactly when things are coming in and out, and you know when to act and when to accelerate, when to put the brakes on. So it's really like the number one kind of metric of financial health in our view. You know, you can be you can run a business for years without profit, but you can't run a business without cash or getting that cash wrong. So it's really something that we're passionate about seeing businesses like improving.
That makes sense. And speaking of that, what best practices would you give to other startups or companies about cash flow management?
Yeah, I think the best practice starts, it's got to start with good bookkeeping. That's the foundation. If you've got good bookkeeping, there's no point in you'll still get surprises if you don't have good bookkeeping. You won't know about invoices or bills that have come in that you weren't expecting, or things that you thought you'd paid that you had paid. So you've got to get the bookkeeping accurate, and the best way to do that is to have a really good bookkeeper and a really good tech stack. So you can automate. There's some great bookkeeping platforms, but there's all that then flow into online accounting software like Xero and QuickBooks, and that really is the foundation of it. Once you've got that, then you get into the more strategic stuff about like working out what your sales predictions are going to be, what your spending patterns are going to look like, and all of that. But it starts with like getting the basics right and getting that that bookkeeping in place and real time data into the business.
Well, luckily we integrate with the accounting systems that you mentioned. And what can you tell us about trends or shifts in the industry?
Yeah, I think the big shifts that we're seeing at the moment are this the rise of the fractional CFO. A lot of businesses typically, maybe had one of the co-founders was financial and could sort of turn their hand to this when they needed to, but they weren't always on it. Um, and sometimes businesses relied on accountants who they saw sporadically throughout the year to kind of come in and help them a little bit. And there definitely has been a move to advisory. Some accountants are moving into that space, but really the biggest transformation can come when you bring in a fractional CFO, even if it's only a couple of days a month, just to really help get that strategic plan in place, make sure your systems are looking good and everything's running as it should. You're reporting things in the correct way, so that you just make everything really smooth. Your month end, your end of year is fast. You can get your R&D tax credits applications in whenever all those things are done. It just makes everything go. So the fractional CFO has been a huge change that we're seeing, and you're just hearing more and more about it, which is exciting. I think, um, obviously then software, like we were talking about earlier, like there's so much great software out there, like Cladara, like Float, that can really just like all make life easier for financial management and planning. And Yeah, those are the big shifts we're seeing. Obviously, AI is starting to come into this space more, like making things like capturing data easier, make things like automating reports, which is nice as well. It's still very early days in the AI space, but the foundations are the things that people are just starting to get their heads around now, I think, which is great.
I'm happy that you mentioned what you mentioned about fractional CFOs, because actually we have a handbook of how to roll out Credata. So if anyone here is a fractional CFO, feel free to email us and we'll be happy to send that to you. But coming back to the chat, Colin, what strategies have you implemented to improve cash flow management?
Yeah, well, like all of the above that we've been talking about, getting our systems right. But literally, we look at software on how can it help us? So expense management, we're actually, we use Cladara for, tracking who owns what software. Like it's so easy in so many companies to let that spend get out of control. And so for us, like that's been a big one. And, people leave the company and they're owning a subscription that they just forget to mention, and it drags on for years without people noticing. So like having the insight. And another way, we take that data from Cloudera, put it into Float and into our budgets, and then we can actually see everything else as well. So our payroll forecast, our sales forecast, and that it kind of brings it all together into one picture. So all those things kind of flow in together. We're a subscription company, so we don't have to do things like chasing payments or trying to improve our payment terms. That's an easy one, thankfully for us. But often that's one thing that other companies do need to look at is how can we get paid faster? And there's some great apps that are out there now in terms of making payments and just accelerating how easy it is to make your pay run without that taking a lot of admin or even just not knowing who's paid what and when you're going to pay it. Because when cash is tight, sometimes holding back payments is the only thing you can do, and speeding up who pays you, on the other side. And if you've got that direct method cash flow, then you can do that. If you've got an indirect model of cash flow, like you're just basing it on a P&L forecast and you get paid you're saying we're roughly every 30 days or something. It's really hard to get the granularity that you need in a cash crunch. Um, so yeah, that's why we really like working with larger FP&A tools like Fathom, for our long-term financial planning. And then for our shorter term, like 13 weeks to 12 months view, we would use Float for that direct method. And that really does allow us to do things like multiple scenarios as well. So we've got all many sorts of variables like are we going to get how much is our R&D going to be? When's that going to come in? That's a big cash influx. Or what grants are we applying for? Uh, yeah, what are our sales predictions? How fast, like what if we grow this percentage a month versus that percentage a month? What happens if our sales stagnate? All these things that we might want to look at. Being able to build a scenario quickly and compare really helps us making those decisions. Sometimes it's inconsequential, and other times it makes a big difference. So yeah, for us, it's just about using the technology and getting visibility in a way that you don't have to be a financial genius to understand or mess around in spreadsheets, which can often go wrong. We've seen that happen as well.
Oh, you mentioned scenarios, you mentioned forecasting, building possible scenarios. How do you prepare for unpredictable changes in cash flow?
Yeah, I think you have to be confident. It's a confidence game when it comes to cash flow, that you've got the models, as accurate as you can make them. You don't want to be caught out with like, oh, I forgot that we weren't gonna, we had all these things that we hadn't just put into our model. So really reviewing our model regularly just to track, is it doing what we expected it to do? Um, like I said, if you've got that direct method model, you can do that really granularly, which is great. Um, Digitizing everything makes a big difference. Just having all your receipts coming in and your expense payments all using like having platforms. So again, there's no big unexpected expense claims that are coming in that you didn't know about. Uh, and I think having a CFO at the end of the day, like again, doesn't have to be full time. It like 2 days a month is kind of what we currently use, and it's perfect. And that gives us our monthly management reports. Um, so we're constantly like just reviewing and seeing, how did we do? Were we on track? How good was our forecast? And then what might we want to do in the future? So yeah, I think that's really it. It's about, you build confidence by checking how you did each month and how and if you're getting close, then you know you feel that confidence. And I think yeah, being able to do multiple scenarios like a good, bad, and ugly. Again, how much cash do might we want to keep in the business? Like certain things can really impact you, and it's really only through experience sometimes that you know what that right figure of cash is to keep. Um, but yeah, some businesses are burning huge amounts of cash every month. They need to know exactly when that cash is going to run out, or when they're trying to get to profitability, or they're going to raise another funding round. And so yeah, the closer you get to those kind of crunch points, the more accurate you need to get.
And are there any processes that have been game changers for you?
Um, I think in terms of processes, yeah, it's just getting our bookkeeping done, like almost on a like couple of times a week. So as soon as like we can look at our accounting float and know that it's up to date. That's a game changer. Like some business we speak to, they're getting their bookkeeping done monthly or even quarterly. So what's going on in their, accounting software? They're not getting accurate reporting data until after the month. And so yeah, that's not great. It means when you do go to look at it, you're not it's never right. um and if you're looking back, if you're waiting till the end of the month, maybe it's 7 days after the month and you're looking back, you're already quite far out before you're making your plans. So that's been a big one for us. But yeah, I'd say honestly, Cladara has been really helpful in helping us find areas that were, you know, we cut back on spend, places where we had accounts that were spending more than we needed to be based on the benchmarks. And sometimes we've had situations where, it's nice to be in control. So we're able to stop the payment on the card and then sort it out rather than let them take the payment because we're paying by one credit card, which we can't stop. Whereas whenever everything's on an individual card, like it is with Cladara, then we're able to control that and we're able to stop payments and figure it out late, like when we're in control. So yeah, that's been a big one for us.
I'm happy to hear that. And this one's the last one before handing it over to Katie. So, Colin, you touched on software. We all know what software spend is for most of our customers here on the call, is their biggest expense after payroll. So, as a customer of Credata, you kind of mentioned it just now, but what's been the impact of implementing us and how does it fit into the big picture?
Yeah, like say, tech stack is everything when it comes to your finances, and so yeah, I think the big one, like I was talking about, having that control is really good. Also security, like you don't want to be. There was a time before we were using kind of spend management that everybody could get access to the credit card. People had it on file, so people were signing up for subscriptions all over the place. That's not great. Cards get lost, and then if you get canceled, then that everything is canceled. It's just a real hassle. Who owns each app? Sometimes it's good to have somebody responsible and have a clear view of, like, is everybody taking the time to do an audit on, is this tool like the right tool for us? And more recently, we've been trying the physical cards as well, just because it's nice to have everything in one place. So that's been something that I know the team have been enjoying, like being able to use that for other expenses that are beyond software. So good job on that. We really like it.
We're happy to hear that as well. Colin, thank you very much. We are going to move forward with Katie, but if you can stick around with us, I'm sure that we see some incoming questions right now, so I'm pretty sure that you'll be,
Happy
we'll
to.
call you. Yep. Katie, all yours.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much, Colin. That was really interesting. And yeah, thank you for sticking around for the Q&A. So as promised, I want to do a very quick demo of Cladara and show you how you can implement some of those insights, kind of get that visibility over your software spend that Colin mentioned, and show you our new feature as well. So I'm just going to share out my screen. So before I dive into that, I just want to give you, many of our customers on the call, they'll recognize this screen. This is the report section. So let me give you a brief overview of this is what we've got existing. This is great because this is going to give you an overview of this first section here. This is giving an overview of each team's budget against their spend. So in Cladara, you can set each team's budget, and this is going to give you a snapshot of how they're all trending. So we can dig down into each team, and fantastic, it's like supports just on budget. But if it was over, you know who to speak to, and what you were saying about those scenarios, who you can what software you can dig into, perhaps if you need to cut costs. This one here is really fantastic for getting just a really global view of the year. You can see your spend, how it's trending. Now, this is all your historic spend. This has actually happened. And if you really need to drill down into that, this is fantastic. Lots of customers love this, where you can actually drill down per team, but per software as well. And here's your month-on-month breakdown. And this is all exportable. So this is a really great kind of view of kind of what your spend has been. And if I come to this new section here, what we want to show you here is a really great view of your forecast. So this is about understanding, this is going to allow you to plan a lot better, understanding which tools are over and under budget. And let's dive into this. So what I want to show you up at the top here, we've got the budget per month. So this is the calendar month. We're in January, and this is based on the budgets you've put into Cladara for each of your software. So based on that, this is what you can forecast for January. And also here you can look for the next 3 months. So essentially here we're seeing Q1 and our budget needed for Q1, but you can change that, look for the 6 months and even 12 months out. Over on the right here, so I'm going to move right to the right side of the screen. You've got the total budget for the year. And then here we have the actual spend. So as you start spending through Cladara, that remaining budget in the middle will come down. So this is, as I said, a really kind of great global overview, kind of a snapshot of where you are today. And if we kind of just scroll down to this section, this is really great because this is going to show you the impact kind of per month. So this is the budget per month. I'm just going to remove this a moment. And you can see there's kind of a couple of peaks, right? We're going to see, right, April, June, and October. There's expect some peaks, but then look in December, we already know we're going to need to budget for about 50,000 for December. That could be some yearly renewals, but this is good because already in January, you can see this view and plan ahead. This here is your account balance. So that's, you know, the money that's in Cladara, how long that's going to last and when you'll need to top up. So this is going to be really useful for our customers in the UK and Europe to help know when to top up your account. And I'm going to scroll down. So we're kind of getting more and more granular as we go down. So this is really interesting as well here. So this is, as you can see, all the software. I'll expand it so we can see everything. There's a list of your applications, and here you can see you've got the actual. So when, again, you start spending on the cards, you'll see the actual here against the budget for that particular application. We can change the view to just see the actuals or just the budgets. Now, we saw before in the example that December, there's an expected larger impact, right, of that almost 50,000. So if I sort here, I can kind of actually see which of those tools it even is, right? And the fact that there's nothing for the rest of the year for, say, SalesLoft, this is where we can expect this to be a yearly charge, right? And I can go down the list, see all the tools that are planned to come out in December. So this is really useful for that planning. And I kind of want to take it a step further. So Colin, you mentioned about scenario planning. You know, what if, you know, we took out SalesLoft? What would that look like? Perhaps SalesLoft is a pretty critical tool and actually can't be removed. So where is there some wiggle room in the case that you did need to make some cuts? You can already be planning and see where would that be. And I'm going to want to go a little bit further. So let's pick on User Pilot. So say you've taken a look, okay, what would our scenario look like without this tool? We can even dig into this tool. We can see exactly who owns it. So as you were saying, Colin, you can go straight to this person, you know, who the contact is within your business to talk to about User Pilot. We do really like User Pilot here at Cladara, by the way. No shade to them. And let's kind of work it back. So when you're evaluating your tools, there's a couple of things you want to check. You might see if you can get a better price. Well, fantastic. We've got benchmarks and negotiation here. So this is showing you how your spend stacks up to companies of a similar size. So actually looks like we've got pretty typical spend for User Pilot. But hey, there's no harm in asking if there's any wiggle room on the price there. In fact, we've got a negotiation co-pilot here that you can use to kind of have a template to send out to your team. So that's about the price. You might want to understand your usage. Is this tool actually getting used by people in the company? At the moment, it looks like no one's logged in, so we can go and check that. That's under our Engage data here. This is coming from the Cladara Engage extension, and this is telling you about how often your tools are getting used. So if I look into User Pilot, okay, it does look like it's not getting a lot of use. So again, just something else to go to Mariana in this case and have that conversation of like, is this a real useful tool here? And the very last thing I want to show you before I wrap up here is, and if we use that example again, so anything that is due to come out in December, maybe that's set a reminder a couple of months before and make sure that we get ahead of it. So each application, you can come in and schedule yourselves a reminder. Most of our customers will set this at least 2 months before that renewal date, depending on the contract that you have. You might even need to give a bit more time. But hey, let's set this up so every year the right people are going to get a message about going through those steps I just showed you, checking this tool and making sure it's still adding value to your business. So I will stop there. I could talk about Cladara all day, but I know we've got some questions there that we want to get to. So Julia, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Katie. Our first question is for Colin. It says, where do you see people getting stuck, or what are the more common objections that you hear?
Yeah, like I was saying, the biggest one is like my data is a mess. And that's often challenged because you've got a bookkeeper that you've maybe been with for years, but they're not tech savvy, or they're not in that place where they're giving you that kind of monthly or daily reconciliation that you could be getting. Um, Yeah, the next thing is just sometimes people they haven't set up their accounting software correctly. So once you want to get into budgeting, you do want to take some time and work through that chart of accounts in your accounting software to, float pulls in all your chart of accounts and how everything's been reconciled. And like your business, as your business changes, you're going to have different requirements there. So if you're not already doing useful budgeting and reporting, then it can be useful to review those every so often. And you can set those up differently in Float and sort of merge them together and that kind of thing. But again, that just takes a little bit of work and we can support with that. Or again, if you've got a fractional CFO, that's a great person to do that piece of work. But really, those are the two main ones. If you've got that data flowing, everything else is pretty straightforward. Uh, yeah, that's those are the biggies.
Good. We have another question that says, a client says, we have visibility of the usage of the tools that each team uses. What about the tools we don't know they're using or trialing? I think, Katie, would you mind helping me with this one? I think you're fantastic at explaining informal SaaS.
Oh, thank you. Yes, this is a great question. And absolutely right. You know, you've got your list of applications here in Cloudara. You know everything, but there's a new software being tried and bought on all the time, right? I think we've all been there. And that's again with the Cloudara Engage extension that I mentioned before. You see this section informal SaaS. Maybe others here know it as Shadow IT. Essentially, this list is going to show you anything that's software that your team is accessing that is not added as an application. And just a quick overview of the Cloudara Engage extension. So essentially, it's going to check the URL that you're accessing. Within the extension itself, it's going to check against our database of software. I think we're about 10,000 providers there. And only if there's a match is it going to ping data back to Cloudara. So it's going to tell you the software, the user, and the time and date. So you can build up this really great view of the tool usage. And yeah, as you can see, you can know exactly who to go to about that. You can talk to these people individually about getting a paid plan or double checking that it's a tool that you're happy bringing into your environment.
Thank you for that, Katie. And we have one last question that says, what accounting tools does Cloudara integrate with? Sure, if you go to settings and click on integrations, you'll see that we integrate with Xero, QuickBooks, and NetSuite.
Yeah, correct. And if you don't have one of those tools, don't worry. In each application, you have your accounting tab here. So we've got the two default codes, the most common ones, right? GL Cost Center, but you can create up to 5 additional fields. Enter that in, and then when it comes to exporting your transactions at the end of each month, you just export that CSV. Really easy.
Well, that seems like a good place to end it today. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Colin, again. And as Katie mentioned, we're here for you. So if you have any questions, please email us at success@cloudara.com and we will be happy to assist you. And if we haven't answered your question during the webinar, we'll get back to you.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Huli. I will just flash something up on the screen. So if you'd like us to reach out to you, you can say yes, and we'll make sure we either reach out to talk to you about reports. It might not be included in your plan, so one of the team can reach out to you and talk to you about that. And perhaps maybe you're not a Cloudara customer yet, but you'd like to speak to a member of the team. So yeah, from me, thank you very much. And once again, thank you, Colin.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for having me.
Okay.
Our pleasure.
Have a great day, everyone. See you at the next one.
Cheers,
See
Katie.
you.